아닌 정치 역사의 새 주인공이 된 분입니다. 오늘은 LA시 12지구 존리 시의원님과 다양한 이야기 나눠보겠습니다. Hello, council member.
Good morning.
Good morning. First of all, congratulations on your recent victory again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So let's just get straight to the question.
Sure.
We'd like to hear more about you. Can you tell about your childhood and how your parents immigrated to the United States?
Sure. Well, I've told the story many times. My father came here in the late 50s. My mom came here early 60s. They, met in Hollywood, California, both in pursuit of the American dream, and started a small business. And I like to tell people the reason why I'm so supportive of small businesses is because my parents' small business gave me and my brother every single opportunity that we have in this world. And as far as my childhood, I grew up in the Valley, San Fernando Valley, born and raised, and had a normal childhood other than, my parents. I think, I've actually talked to you before about this. I had different Korean parents. They never, wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor. They always wanted me to be in public service, and being involved with the community was very important for my father. So I started volunteering when I was 13 years old. I volunteered to help children with developmental disabilities. But other than that, other than my volunteering, same, normal childhood, played a lot of different sports, and even did a little acting. Well, actually, that was when I was 20, so I don't know, I guess it's not exactly my teenage years, but, just did a, little extra work, and it's just, just a really great, wonderful childhood.
So acting wasn't your field, I guess.
No, I was on, I thought maybe I would be discovered, but no, unfortunately it didn't happen. Just a full, just a few episodes on Full House, and that was it. Yeah.
That's cool though.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you have one brother, you said.
Yes.
What was your reaction of your family when you got elected?
My parents, they could not have been more excited. I tell people the different dynamic between my parents are so different. My dad, coming here in the late 50s, his struggle, coming to, of all places, he got a scholarship to Georgetown, Kentucky, from Korea to Kentucky.
Wow.
And just the culture shock of that. And then fighting his way to raise money to make it out to California and to be in Hollywood. Where he originally thought he could try to get into the movie business.
So that was for your father.
That unfortunately didn't work out for him.
Okay.
But he was always throughout the campaign. When it started with 15 candidates, he'd call me and just tell me how proud he was of me and say, John, no matter what happens, Daddy's really proud of you. You just do your best. And then when it got down to 2 candidates, same thing. He'd be like, I'm so proud of you, but if it doesn't work out, I'm I will be so proud of you. I don't care what happens. And, I'm his baby son. And so not until the election when the crowd started cheering, there's a famous picture in the LA Times of me holding my dad's shoulder and my dad being emotional because it was at that moment my dad looked at me and said, well, why is everybody cheering? What's going on? And I said to him, Dad, your son is going to be the next Los Angeles City Council member.
Aww.
And I think in that moment he realized, he always believed that this country, you could do anything. And I think for him, at that moment, he had the proof that. And I joke because my mom was totally different. My mom's that one that was always like, you can do whatever you want. You're going to win this. You're Susan Lee's son. And as soon as I got elected, she looked at me and said, when do I get my business cards that say council member's mom? So totally different reactions, but they're both
very proud.
They both made me who I am today.
Oh, very sweet. And I think your son should get the career as a movie star since your father tried, you tried. So you said your parents always wanted you to serve as a public service. So you formerly was a council member's Englander's chief of staff.
Right.
So what made you run for a public office?
I like to tell people that this election didn't start just when Councilmember Englander decided to step down. This started when I was younger. Public service was always in my blood. Working with this community has always been something that I love. I tell people often, this is the community that raised me. This is the community I live in. This is the community I love. This is the community my wife and I are choosing to raise our 2 children in. And so it was an easy decision for me to get in because I wanted to serve this community like I've been doing all my life.
What was your first job as a public servant?
My first job, I was a field deputy for Councilman Joel Wax in the mid-90s.
Wow.
And have worked for different people, then Assemblyman Cardenas, but now Congressman. I worked for a short time for Councilmember Alex Padilla, who is now our Secretary of State, and Councilmember Smith as his legislative director, and a short stint as his chief of staff, and then of course the 6 years with Councilmember Englander as his chief of staff.
So since winning the special election, how's it been like being a city councilman so far?
It's been busy. I showed you my calendar earlier today. You see, it says it doesn't matter. The days blend. It doesn't matter if it's a Monday or a Saturday or Sunday. Morning. My first meeting is with you today. This morning at 8:30. My last meeting tonight starts at 7. It's a dinner. So they're long days, but it's really exciting to be able to serve this community. Though the title, I never ran for this seat because of the title, but it is still kind of a new experience for me when people address me as councilman, because when they talk about the council, I've always been a staffer for 20 years, and I'm taking notes, and normally they go, councilman, councilman, and I would go, oh right,
Oh, I'm the one.
that's me. So that'll take some getting used to, but honestly, working with this community is something I've done for so many years, and it's what I enjoy.
Awesome. And there was it was special election, and like I said, there was little. It wasn't easy. It was tough, and there was a little story among especially among Korean American community. One other Korean American council member, you obviously supported your opponent candidate.
Sure.
How was that for your election?
Well, I knew that Councilmember wasn't supporting me, and so, but when I started hearing about the robocalls and the mailers, it did surprise me. I know the Korean media immediately picked up on that, but that turned actually to be a real boon for my campaign. People started coming in and volunteering. More Korean Americans started coming in and making phone calls and knocking on doors. Fundraising from the Korean community picked up. It was actually something that really worked in my favor. And but now we're colleagues, and so I look forward to working with Councilman Ru, putting all that behind us, because work needs to get done here in the city, and we don't have time to worry about the things of the past. We need to move on forward.
Right, and you have a lot of work, but do you have any specific goals would you like to pursue before the 2020 March primary election?
Right, yeah. Unfortunately, I do have an election right around the corner, because I'm just finishing up the term for Councilman Englander. But, while I know I can't snap my fingers and cure homelessness, it was a pledge that I made to my community that anyone in the city, any individual, any company, any department making any penny off of taxpayer dollars that are addressing homelessness, I'm going to try to have them in front of me at some committee to just really understand how that money is being spent, because taxpayers were gracious enough to pass Measure H and HHH, over $1 billion, and we've been spending that money, and yet homelessness went up 16%. So we need to take a look at what the root problem is. It's not so much just housing, building more housing so that we can house more people. That's very important. But we have to find out what's causing this, get to the root problems, and that's what I plan on doing.
Will be my last question. Very important.
Okay.
You're very good in Korean, but do you have any plans to learn a little more Korean? And can you say some farewell words to our viewers in Korean?
Yes, I've told. I need to be careful, because I have told many different groups that I do need to learn Korean a little bit better. The thing is that, understanding that in the 70s when I grew up in the Valley, I was one of just a handful of Korean, children in that area. And now, we have a thriving Korean community, but it is something where I have made a commitment to learn. I'm so disappointed that I didn't take that time when I was a younger kid, but it is something that I will definitely work on. So I guess 앞으로 열심히 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
지금까지 LA시 12지구 존리 시의원과 이야기 나눠봤습니다.